welcome to everybody to this great webinar, The Future of Work and How to Make Hybrid Work an Opportunity. The agenda you see on the screen. I will ask everybody to mute themselves. Please check that. If you would like to join with video, that's great. It's also nice also for the presenters that at least they see a few faces. Then if you have a question, there is the chat button that you maybe all know. You can put in your question through the chat or during the presentation, or you can wait with your question because you think maybe it will come a little bit later in the presentation, because at the end there is a Q&A, as you can see. So I would like to introduce to you Isabelle de Liège, who is going to give this webinar today. And I am looking forward to it because it's a great topic. And I'm very happy that Isabelle has taken the time to present this to us. Isabelle, the floor is yours.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Tanya. We also agreed with Tanya that that she could also take your question when they are coming. So as I'm in the flow of the presentation, maybe Tanya will stop me from time to time to give me your question, because I like it when it's interactive, and with 30 people virtually, I think it should be manageable. So this is my pleasure to be there today to introduce you to this hybrid way of working. And we will start with the following agenda. Why is it so important to get ready right now for the hybrid working? And just after the agenda, we'll have some small icebreaker. Then we will have a quiz together, and you will need your smartphone for this. So if it's not close to you, please go and get it. Otherwise, it's also possible to go to the internet, to the address of the quiz. And it will be the opportunity to compare your answers to the results of the video survey that we did on teleworking. So it will be a mix of what do you think about it and what are the results of our survey. We'll take some time also to talk about the crucial role of manager in hybrid working, because we can define some things in policy or in agreements, but the manager from the different teams and departments, they really have a more and more important role in order to define the future with their teams. And then I will share with you our global 4B approach, which is the way we use to approach teleworking and hybrid working. After, we will see how we can formulate a clear vision with a beautiful project, linear with different steps. And then I will end before the Q&A, giving you some best practice and tips and tricks about teleworking. So that's the schedule. But as Tanya said, if you have questions before, don't hesitate to put them into the chat or to share them together. So to start with the icebreaker, I would like to know your mood of the day. And more specifically, if we were to consider, because you're our facility manager, so we'll talk about building, what floor of the emotional elevator are you in today? Are you rather sub-basement, basement, above ground floor, or penthouse? And I suggest that you do this through clicking the button, the three little points on your video, and then you should see rename in the menu. So you can click it and you can write next to your name your mood of the day. So like I will do it for myself, and I will have a look at the result with you. There is also another way to do it, and you can click on the participant button in the ribbon, the black ribbon down. So Let's see if I see some of you who've done it so far. I don't really see a lot, but that's probably because I'm not able to see everybody at the same time.
Yeah,
Well,
Nicole, I said basement level. They are starting to answer. Chris,
okay.
feeling great. Above ground floor. There are different names now.
Okay, thanks, Michael, because it's difficult at the same time to see everybody and to watch the slides.
If you don't know, just let me, because I had to look also a little bit, go to participants and then in the more and then in rename. So go to participants, on your name, more, rename. I see J, nodding yes. Good. So now it should work.
Okay, but it's a small tip that you can use if you want to make your interactive meeting to share something about your state of mind of the moment. So it's also a small giveaway that I give to you if you want to use it with your team. It only takes a few minutes. Maybe first time it's more difficult to find your way, but you can still look it up in the Zoom option afterwards. So it's good to see that you're feeling well. It's not exactly the wrong question. So why is it so important right now to start thinking about the future of work today? It's very important because as the Marijn van Kouwerbert from the University of Antwerp, she told us that abolishing telework, it's not really an option anymore because you see lots of people, they want to keep it. But if we keep on working like we do today, without further investment, it could impact negatively our well-being of the people who are working and also the performances. So it's time now, after the start of the crisis now, more than 1 year ago, to invest in it because we know it's going to last for a long period. Lots of people have known remote working with 100% of their time working from home. Now it's not mandatory anymore. It should be adapted in the slide. We are allowed to go back to the office once a week. During the summer, it will be this transition period, but we expect that from September on, people will go back to the office for some part of their time to be agreed upon. And how are we gonna organize this? You for the building and the facility, but also the people manager to see how they organize the work and how we use the space that we have at our disposal. So it's the right now to get ready to organize this. So I would like to ask you a few questions, and that's why you needed your smartphone because you can scan the QR code and you will land on the WooClap page. And I ask you now, how many days of teleworking are desirable for your organization according to you? And now I'm going to open the WooClap, switch screen. I hope everybody had the opportunity to, here is the QR code again, so you can scan it again and go into the WooClap. I hope you've had time to scan it now. And here is the question. Your answer should be coming in gradually now. How many days of teleworking are desirable for your organization, do you think? It's strange because usually I see all the question. I see that your answer are coming in, but usually I see them. It's like it's not moving right now. It's very strange. It's not like it should be. Here are the results. Now I needed to click there. So I see that among you. Yeah, it's quite tight between 2 days, because 47% of you said it's 2 days, and 44% said it's even 3 days, and a few of you said, okay, maybe we need 4 days of telework. So if I compare to the results of our survey, you've seen it if you've looked at it a bit very fast at the beginning, because you were not supposed to see it initially. But now we have 84% of people who want 2 days or more telework. So it's really, really big. And it's approximately the same as what you told us, like the people who would like 40% who would like I need to move the zoom bar, because otherwise it's on my data. I cannot see everything. So 40% want 2 days and 33% want 3 days. So in your group, you even said a bit more than what we found out in our results. But it's a lot anyway. So it will definitely impact the way we work together at the office. It's sure. So now let's go to the next question. On the WooClap, you can stay there. You should see it appear. I will show you the QR code again. But the second question is, do you think that the employees are more productive in teleworking? That's the question. And now it's not this one, it's the next one. Do you agree strongly or somewhat, or do you disagree? I see the results are coming in. And the trend is going like, yeah, the majority of you agree or strongly agree. So it's true that people find themselves more productive when they telework. 55% find themselves more productive in our results. So it's a trend. And we also ask, why do you think so that you're more productive? Yeah, I forgot to tell you in the beginning, but as you see, we agreed with Tanya that we would do the conference in English, but the slides, it's a mix of French and Dutch and English. So it's all about Belgium. I hope it's fine for you. But so why do people think that they are productive? And you see that the majority of people, they answer, because I have no commute from home to the office. Or they also say, I can focus better on my work. I win some time, or it's more flexible. So there are various reasons why they think they are more productive at home. The third question that I would like to ask you is, for what type of content do you provide a physical meeting? For what type of activity do you think a physical meeting is necessary? And let's go back to the WooClap. That's the previous question. And here are the answers that are provided. Is it for informal and spontaneous contact? Is it for brainstorming and creative work? Is it for people management activities, like giving feedback to your workers? Is it for difficult decision making, steering committees, or update meeting? Is it for project work or concentration work, or other? So again, I see 18, 19 answers. Okay. When we reach 20 or 24, 35, how 39, but I'm not sure already. I still see results coming in. Now I'll share. So here are the trends. You say people want to go to the office for a creative brainstorm and creative work. And so that's the first one you gave us. And the second one, it's on the same level, people management and steering committee. Here it's very interesting because you give different trends than the one we found out in our in our survey. Because in our survey, we found out with a very big majority that people want to go back to the office for informal and spontaneous contact with the colleagues. You see, in our survey, it was even 70% of the people who say it's the main reason why I would like to go back to the office. And as a facility manager, I will teach you nothing if I tell you that if you want to have informal contact and talk with your colleagues, you need to have a fitted space for this purpose. Otherwise, if you start chit-chatting on the open space, you're gonna disturb the other colleagues. Or if you only have like a big dinner room that's usually used at midday, it's not very convenient for small chat when you meet informally near the coffee machine. So the trends would be that these informal space for talking together, like the coffee corner, should be very popular to answer this need of informal and spontaneous contact between colleagues. It's true that the result that you gave, around 50 or 60% of the respondents, they said, yes, we would also like to go to the office for brainstorm and creative work. And again, if we translate this into the design of the office, we need to have a fitted space for this creative work. We've seen these creative rooms or war rooms for project popping up, but it's probably a trend that we will need to keep for the future as well in order to answer the need for the participants. People management, it was also, it's the third one. And again, if we think about the kind of space that we need for this people management, maybe we need more confidential space where we can have a talk with the colleague and not all the people around us hear it. Like you've probably noticed this in the past. Sometimes people use like a coffee corner to have this kind of discussion with the colleagues, and other people who were not really supposed to hear it, they hear it, or it creates some discomfort for one or the second person. So it's quite complex to manage this. It's better to have the adapted workplace for this. So you see the trends, but these were the most important. Maybe it's also interesting to see few people answered other, but in the others, they also say, yes, we would like to go to the office to do, to meet new candidates for the job. It's very important to see them face to face and not only in a digital way, or also for the onboarding of the new colleagues, the one we just hired, for client meetings. So these are the needs of the people. We also ask the participants, which are your priorities, according to you, to make this hybrid work or teleworking a success? And the first answer, the most important, was to have a culture that fits with this hybrid way of working or teleworking, that support it. So, for example, if you were used to function with a people manager, more control and command in the hierarchical way, it's not really easy to translate it when people are working from home or somewhere else most of the time, because you cannot see them anymore. So how do you need more trust, and you need more autonomy, and you need more steering on output in order to function this way. It's also interesting to notice that 30% of the people say we don't need anything anymore. It's already fine how it works so far. But the third need was about reorganizing the work environment and the office. And that's where it comes to your responsibility. According to reorganize the environment according to the different functionalities of the space. Like I said, informal chat, meetings, formal meetings, or concentration work, or brainstorming and creative work with other colleagues. Here we see that we need to be a bit worried about this well-being of the people, because as the university professor I quote at the beginning said, if we keep on working like this without further investment, it's not going to be fine, nor for the employee, nor for the worker, the employer. Because people, they miss some energy in the morning when they get up. It's difficult to find it just inside yourself or in the virtual interaction that you get with your colleagues. So there is a majority of people, around 70%, they say, I quite agree, or I totally agree. I'm quite indifferent respect to my work. We also have a majority of people who answer this way. And also some people who say sometimes it's difficult to focus on what I do, or I feel stressed, or I'm not sure I'm going to get enough energy from my day when I get up in the morning. So this motivation thing, it's very important when people work from a distance. Of course, our results are influenced by the specific context in which we did it, because as I said in the beginning, it was almost 100% telework for most of people who answered. So it's not the same as if we think about the future, and we hope to find a kind of balance between working from the office and working from home. And working from home, not with the children at home, as we could have had it during the lockdown period. So these are the results of a survey that we did during a crisis period. It's also good to take into consideration. But nevertheless, the role of the manager and the people manager in this hybrid work, it's very important. And how can it be successful? We need to find a balance between what we agree upon inside the company, what we agree upon top down. And top down, it's like the telework policy that's been set up for everybody, and that says it's 2 days or 40% of your working time that you can work from home. Um, and you also have things that you agree not only top down, but also bottom up, because it's difficult to apply such a policy in the same way for every department or every location if you're working in a multinational company, or just simply, it's not easy to apply the same rule in the same way for each individual working in the same team, sometimes in the same function, because some have children and they have needs related to this, other have different personal situation that have different needs. But what we also found out is that telework, it's very important that it's experienced as a free choice, which was not the case during the lockdown, of course. And why is it so important that it's experienced by the people as a free choice? Because that's in green down. We saw that there is big correlation between the results of I am more productive when I work from home. You remember, it's the second question I asked you. And the fact that people see telework positively. And so this is the link with the free choice. I also give you some elements of telework policy. So we often get the question, but yeah, Isabel, what should it include, this telework policy? It's not only legal agreement or comp and ban. Of course, it's also a part of it, and you can decide people get so many euros for the internet connection or for the equipment of their home office and so on. But most of the time, it gives some principle in the telework policy, like the maximum amount of days of teleworking that are allowed. But most of the time, it says in agreement with the people manager. one advice that we give to HR department is to express this either in percentage rather than in days, because like if you have somebody working 4 days a week, how do you apply the 2 days or 3 days? So it's easier if you express it in percentage. You also need to agree on people in order to spread the attendance over the week, because if everybody is at the office on Monday and Tuesday, well, you still need the same amount of seats that you need before. You're not going to be able to spare some space thanks to the telework policy. And also because of business continuity. If you are a HR department and everybody's coming to the office on Monday, it means that it's not possible to have any face-to-face support on the rest during the rest of the week. So there are two reasons for this. Usually, the telework policy also mentioned if there are some conditions in order to be able to telework, like do you need a minimum seniority? And here we come back to the question of the onboardees, the new people that we get on board. It's also applicable for some functions or some tasks and not for others, which sometimes also creates jealousy between the people working inside a company, because some function is very easy to work from home or wherever you want. But for other function, like if you're in charge of taking care of people, elderly people, and nursing and so on, it's very difficult, almost impossible to do most of the task remote. You need to be there. And probably, as most of you experience in the last months, for your core business, facility management, you can probably do a lot remotely, but for some tasks, you need to be there in person and to see on site, except if you have all the technology and KPIs and that your buildings are super equipped so that you can manage a lot of things remotely. Most of the time, the employers say no teleworking from abroad, or they reduce it because it also has some legal aspects. After a certain amount and a certain duration, it impacts the way the employer or the employee need to pay their tax. Most of the time, we also see some exclusion or restriction for part-time worker, as I mentioned before, in order to be sure that they still see their part-time workers, because if we say 2 or 3 days a week and the person is a half-time worker, then it would be possible not to see the person anymore. And most of the time, that's not what company want. And also, in order to just underline once again the important role of the manager, we see it's possible to change your schedule or your agreed teleworking days if it's fixed, but only with the agreement of the people management manager in advance. So this you see manager in red, because it means that working the hybrid way, it implies that we have lots of agreement between the employer and the employee or inside the team. I will come back to this later. But first, or maybe I check with you, Tanya. I haven't checked so far. Are there questions so far before I start introducing the?
Not any related to the presentation.
Okay. Okay. We'll still see a bit later when they are coming.
Yeah.
So here is our 4Bs approach. We say in order to make telework or hybrid work a success, we need a balance between the bricks, which is the building, the environment at the office and at home, the behavior, so I will illustrate a bit later. The BYTES, which is the IT application or every equipment that enables the technology that supports this, and also the business, because the core business sometimes needs to be adapted in its processes in order to have digital interaction with the clients, for example, or if you're working in a finance department, you need to have a digital process for your all the things that you need to pay or to invoice. I will give you more details now about the different aspects, but the behavior, I was very short about it. Behavior, it's a mix of employee maturity, culture, teleworking policy. So there are lots of things inside it. So the 4 Bs, it can be hybrid way of working. We think about selected hub and co-working office, team dynamics, organizational design, but also change management, HR policy. So it's a comprehensive approach. It's not enough if you would say, okay, I will just adapt the building, but you don't adapt the rest, or you have no change management approach to it, or you don't make sure that people adapt their behavior. Because if you, as a facility manager, take the standard ratio and say, if we have two, no, it's a way to show you that everything is interaction. You need to know how many days teleworking are allowed inside the company in order to calculate how many seats or how many function and square meters you need for the people when they come to the office. If they can work from home 2 days a week, then usually we count that you can apply a ratio of 0.7 for the seats. So it's interesting to know, but if everybody decides to come at the same day, it's not working anymore, this calculation. So for the business, so the 4B approach, we need to evaluate different aspects. First, the leadership that welcomes innovation and new market and trends. The markets have been really impacted by the crisis so far, and so some organization had to reorient their business to different segments, different customer. What we also see is that this customer experience is very important. The way we assist clients, is it possible to do it remotely or in a hybrid way? Also organizational, operational management from a distance. How is it possible to work in an agile way in order to adapt to new circumstances? And of course, project and program management, it helps to put new way of working into practice. What regards the B of behavior, there we also have different elements in order to support the organization. We usually start with a vision workshop about hybrid working. So we align the board of directors on what's their vision, how do they want to make it happen in their organization according to their culture. We also see if there is a policy on teleworking. We advise to translate it and to train the manager to be able to create team agreements inside the different teams, team agreements related to hybrid working. I also talked about the teleworking policy, also with the campaign ban optimization, because it's also an opportunity. That's one part of the opportunity in hybrid way of working. You can also look in a different way at this campaign ban story. You can also see how you adapt team dynamics and how do you make sure that teams work well together? Are you going into the direction of self-managing team, for instance? Do you want to flatten your organization? But you also have different aspects related to behavior, like health lifestyle and healthier, more relaxed life in order to have better performance, training and coaching of manager in hybrid mode. I had the opportunity the last months to develop and give this training about managing team remotely, and I must say that it was really appreciated by the participant, the fact that they could meet other leader or other manager and discuss the kind of problems that they were facing, because it was a kind of eye-opener for them. Oh yeah, but I'm not the only one who's confronted to this situation. Sometimes it was quite lonely for the manager in order to see how to solve all the problems related to the new way of working. The kind of leadership that you have, or the kind of management, is it result oriented and not anymore related to the hours that are performed? And you also have concept about activity-based work, concentration zone, zen zone, and you can agree on all these aspects of the behavior with all people working for the company. And last but not least, because as we saw, it was one of the most crucial success factor for the hybrid way of working to make it successful, it's the open feedback culture, a culture that suits this new way of working based on trust of the people that who can share insights. When it comes to the B of BYTES, we think about paperless working, digital transformation to improve the process, document management. We can also check from an audit and risk perspective the cybersecurity or data management. Do we think enough digitally in order to live and work more humanly? And also, if it's very related to the equipment of the workplace, do we have the technology for the meeting rooms in order to have a hybrid video conferencing? I mean, with some people around the table in the meeting room and other people attending the meeting from home, in order that the people who are at home, they can hear and see very clearly who's talking, and they don't feel excluded because there are some informal chats that they are not able to perceive. So that's part of the equipment. When it comes to creative work session, and we think about, oh, is it possible to do it also remotely or the hybrid way, then you need some whiteboard, physical whiteboard, digital screen, or whiteboard application tools like Mural or Miro. Don't know if you've had the opportunity to experience it, but for the ones who are used to working with post-its, it's the way of doing this and have creative brainstorming with other people, but remotely. When it comes to the bricks, we can look at the office optimization and see, okay, renting or buying, can we optimize the cost? What's the surface that's needed? What are the very big meetings that are quite exceptional? And do they need to be organized in my office, or maybe I can rent some space for this exceptional meeting? Yes, when it comes to bricks, also you have the remote office or the satellite hubs or the co-working space, depending on the policy of the organization, but the equipment of the work space where people effectively work. Do they have the enough ergonomic seats at home or in the hub, and so on? So is it a suited environment in order to work in an effective way? And also we look at the bricks in function of the activity. Is it a flexible zone? Is it more a concentration zone? Is it a Zen zone? Is it more an informal chat zone? And we need to look at the acoustic, the equipment according to the function so that it best serves the people in what they want to do together at the office. So now I'm done with the explanation of the 4B so far, but I would like also to introduce you to the timeline that we suggest that the company we support follow in order to have a successful implementation of the hybrid way of working. Most of the time, we suggest to start with a scanning phase. And in the scanning phase, we look at different data related to bricks by behavior, also the cost and so on. What's the situation of the organization? What are the opportunities? Are we ready for it? Second phase is designing the vision. Most of the time with the top management, define the goals of the new way of working. How do we look at it? Taking our DNA into account, because the NWO could be different at AXA and at Colruyt, for example. It's not the same company, it's not the same DNA, so they would have a different vision about new way and hybrid way of working. Once that we have aligned the top management around this vision, and sometimes it's also, or most of the time we recommend it's also with input from the base and from the line manager around their expectations and surveys and so on, we can translate the vision into a concept. The concept, it's a detailed view on how does it look like, the bricks, bytes, behavior in your future organization. It's a bit like when you go on a holiday, you want to see the island and the palm tree. So the concept is, where are you going to? It's your island and your palm tree. And once it is very clear, the concept, for example, for the bricks, you have not only a macro map, but you start having a detailed plan of the building with the different function per floor and so on. So once you have your concept, you can make a gap analysis with your actual situation, between the actual situation and the desired situation, and you can create a roadmap of projects. Maybe you have some pure building project, environmental, office, organization project, but you also have some cultural track. You have some training for your managers, and you also have some IT projects for the equipment of the right technology in order to make a new way of working a success. And then comes the implementation phase, when you start executing your project and you see the reports on progression, and it's more like project and program management. And once you've implemented, we also strongly recommend that you consider this hybrid way of working from a continuous improvement perspective. It means like it's not done once forever, but check it, evaluate it after 6 months. How can we still improve? Maybe everything's not perfect and we can still adapt and adjust.
Isabel, we have
Yes.
a few questions.
Okay.
I had an unmute problem. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Before the conclusion. Yeah.
So it was one of the remarks was also questions. Can't we bring a bit of home to the office? Can be in addition with the home office, but also a question that I think relates to is, what should be the position about request to have a double furniture provision for the home and the office? And what about responsibility in terms of safety?
Okay, but maybe the person can. I'm not sure I completely understand the question. Can we bring some home to the office? What did you mean by this? Maybe the
Jos?
person.
Nog een keer unmuten,
You
Jos.
can unmute yourself.
Jos?
Jos, we don't hear you.
Ja.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Well, what I want to say is, if the weather is fine, for example, I like to work not in my office, and the same thing I do at home. I won't work inside the house, but in my garden, on the table which I have there. So things like that. If I am a young guy, uh, I uh, I probably would have a break during a half an hour, 1 hour, and would play some online gaming, things like that. Because now we are always thinking, okay, let's work at home to fit our needs, but perhaps we also could change it. And if we are working in the office, yeah, to give the comfort and the mental perspective, on a mental perspective, we could also yeah, bring those things from home. During noon, I'm not eating always, but I'm going for a walk, for a run. So foresee showers, yeah, things like that, to make the office environmental more yeah, more agreeable for everyone.
Yeah, or maybe more attractive even,
Yeah.
because if people think it's going to be a challenge sometimes to get people back to the office, if through these implementation that you suggest, you make the office more attractive also, because it doesn't imply that you lose the nice side activities that you are able to do at work when you go to the office, maybe. Yes. So I think, yeah, it's a good idea to see what's possible. Even before the crisis, I think I had seen initiatives like gardening at the office, even I don't know it in English, but having chicken like at the office, or bees, or it's quite maybe it's very original, but in order to offer some contact with nature and some opportunity for team building or connection the other way between employees from the company. So yeah, I think we need to reinvent the office.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another question also from Els, this regarding the slide before this one. It's great to have the steps, but what would the timeline be?
It depends from organization to organization, how far you're in it, also how big is the company. That's something that most of the time we agree upon. Yeah, it's different for each organization. But I have a client in mind, and I think we had also an approach in 7 weeks, something like that. It was more for defining the vision and the concept on the different levels, bricks byte behavior. Another question? No, I think Alice's question was the last one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have we answered every question so far, Tanya?
I think
Okay.
the only thing is with the position about the request of having double furniture.
The position of having double furniture, and you mean like, yeah, twice the equipment, the seats, the screen and the table, and so forth.
If I understand about safety, could that be ergonomic or?
Maybe Patrick, you can give more detail about your point of view. Unmuting you. if you're still in the
Yeah,
call.
actually, the problem is that you have question from the people saying that if I have to work home, or if I may work home, it's up to the employer to provide the furniture and to provide the safe environment.
Okay.
And I had the example in the UK some years ago, where actually the people from safety went to each individual homes from people working at home and check that their working environment was safe, and that was compulsory. It was not even, you know, um, just a willingness of the employer that was imposed to them, because if they had an accident working from home, they fall into the insurance of the employer. That's one thing. The other thing is, double furniture. That means that do we have to provide, you know, a desk, a chair, a cupboard, screens, and so on. Of course, probably for the IT part, okay, you have one laptop and that's sufficient. But for all the rest, you may have to provide, the double, and that's, you know, that after a long crisis period, that could be a very expensive budget to have.
Yeah, well, I don't really have a position. I think if you ask me, is it needed? Is it because you work from home that you should be badly seated, like common wooden chair like I'm sitting on right now? I can assure you it's true that working months on this kind of chair, it harms you at the end. It's no good. But is it the employer's responsibility to provide this or not? I think so far in what I hear from the clients that different companies have brought different answers to this question so far. I've talked to companies who said we've provided everything to our employees. We've provided second screen, we've provided a seat, we've provided ergonomic mouse and everything, docking station. Another that send you, okay, we have some agreement with our provider and you can have a reduced cost for buying it yourself. And it's not sometimes it's not even very concurrential what they offer. But each company has their own answer. But in an ideal world, is it necessary? I think it is part of the game, part of the solution. If you want to have employees who are performant, they need to feel good and to be well equipped at some point. But
Okay, that's fine. But when you consider that they will do, 1 or 2 days or 3 days a week, okay, 3 days I may understand. But if you have only 1 day a week, and that's the choice of the employee to work home, do you have to provide the same thing as for somebody 3 days a week? Other people are just saying, okay, no, that's fine. I have all my things, and I'm thinking about young people. Young people probably they don't sort of care about the working environment. I've seen people working in couches and so on, and that's fine with them. So it's just that what should be the position, or what is logical to of course, from companies to companies that will be completely different, and that I understand. But what is the direction that one should look at to make a decision?
But I have some colleagues who are legal experts and who could probably inform you a lot better than me on what you're supposed to do, what is compulsory or not right now. On this, I cannot. I don't have a more detailed view. I know I gave a webinar also with my legal colleague Nicolas Temelin, and he knows the legislation very well. But I can only give you the testimonial that I've worked for different companies and also in the public sectors for CPAS or CMW, and there in these teams, some people haven't had a team meeting since more than a year because they don't have the equipment for everybody. And the employee, not everybody has the fitted equipment at home or agrees to use its own smartphone or computer in order to take part to a distance meeting. So it's very different. Yeah, we have lots of situation, and sometimes it's kind of tragic when I think about these people who haven't had a team meeting in 1 year. I think, okay, how do you manage this? But yeah, it's part of the puzzle right now. Are there other questions?
There are quite some comments on the question and on the quite some reactions also on this discussion.
Okay.
So I think people can also read it, because there's budget, but so legal implications. If a company saves a lot of money on square meters or mobility, if you somebody who comes every day from Ghent to Brussels, well, that's quite some gasoline. If you don't have that anymore, then you maybe can give them some ergonomic chairs or whatsoever.
I've even seen in the UK, I think it was again, employer considering, because, in London, the square meters that you have working from home, it's very little. And so employers giving a compensation for their employees who want or need to move somewhere else because maybe they chose to live inside the city because they wanted to be close to their office, but now it's not necessary anymore. So I was quite positively surprised that some company consider this, but I think it's quite rare so far.
Yeah.
But maybe I take the opportunity to share some tips and tricks with you before the end, because I see it's almost 3:30. Oh, it's already 3:30. And people are going to start leaving. Is it fine, Tanya, if I go?
Absolutely. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so some of the best practice, new of working should be a 360-degree approach. You need to combine top down and bottom up, as I said. There is no one size fits all because you need to adapt, as we just said, to the company and the DNA. The policy, the trend is to 2 or 3 days a week. Telework should be a choice, and give yourself 6 months at least learning by doing continuous improvement period in order to reevaluate what you've decided upon now in the autumn. And I had some extra tips and tricks. Here is the example about the team agreements made of collaboration, information, communication, and performance. That's what we give in our training. But the last tips and tricks I wanted to share with you: use the summer period now to organize get-together moment with the team and to make it very cozy and attractive, I would say, to come back to the office if you feel it's a kind of challenge to get people back to the office. When people get together at the office, maybe you could use this moment or organize it digitally in order to discuss with them for which kind of activities do they want to come back to the office, what has more meaning for them, so you can build further upon these consideration. It's also important for the team to define a clear meeting structure, and where they agree very explicitly, can you be attend the meeting digitally or is it physical, face to face, because it will influence the amount of meeting rooms, for example, that you need at the office. And if you use a reservation tool at the office, because we probably going to more and more shared desk and flex desk, create transparency about who's going to the office when, if possible. Of course, you need to double check with GDPR what you can do, but at least you can share inside the team, maybe not share company-wide, because people want to go back to the office to see the other. So it could be an incentive also to say, oh, okay, I'm going to go back to the office because Mark is there and I will be able to see him. Okay, and then I'm done. These are the contact information, but I don't know if you have some extra questions. I'm going to look at the chat. Yeah, I see people need to leave,
Yeah.
of course, because it's time.
If there are any questions for the ones that can stay a few more minutes, please chat them now. It is a topic which will, yeah, tips for internal communications. How to communicate internally, going back home, going back to work. I think is that what you mean? Yeah.
Tips for internal communication. For me, like I don't see. Maybe you can explain more what you want to say, Gia.
Yes, indeed, it's what Tanya says. It's about, because it's important to communicate on returning and about helping people to feel safe in the office. And it's important, I think, to do it well, because if the manager in question is doing it, the managers are often different. There are some more people managers. There are more there are managers that speak less easy. Or is it a good idea to communicate through the top management with the general mails or messages? Or
I think it's good to communicate the intention and the expectation towards the workers. So maybe it's some top-down communication, and to say here, that's what we expect from September on, that people return to the office, how many days a week, and how do they need to book something, or I don't know. But after this formal top-down communication, I think it's also very important, if you want it to really happen and people to feel comfortable with it, to make it a topic of discussion in an interactive way inside the teams or inside the departments. I think it's not enough top-down communication, because not sure it will help you reach your objective of seeing everybody back at the office, because it also lives strongly among some people. I've worked from home or remotely for 1 year. Why do I need to go back to the office? Because we've proven that almost everything is feasible from home. So you need to make it a topic of discussion in order to find solution, and that people agree to do what's expected from them.
I think we will have a very interesting period after the summer when people would like to come back to the office because of the informal meetings with their peers, with their colleagues, to see them, to be creative, to have personal one-to-one meetings face to face. However, when traffic will play parts again, and people are sitting in their cars and having traffic jams for hours and hours, I think a lot of people would like to go back to home working. Plus, I think there will also be some mental problems, if I may call it like this. People have a lot of, during a year, we all took some kind of an habits. Let's get the kids from school, or let's do this, or let's do that. And now if you have to do this hybrid, because we're especially talking about the hybrid working, that will be very difficult for a lot of people. So the question was also before, okay, we got the results from the employees. How often do you like to go back to work, but is there also some kind of a statistics on the companies, what their policy will be?
What I hear the most is the trend of 2 days teleworking.
Yeah, that's what we hear too. And it is very important for the companies now to listen to their employees.
Yeah, because I've
So top
seen some
management need to do
survey
that.
in Canada that announcing how many percent of people who were willing to quit their job if they are forced to go back to the office every day. And it was 1 or 3 or 1 or 5, I'm not sure, but anyway, it's a lot. Of course, it's Canada, but like some company they say we don't want it, and some companies say anyway we live at the countryside, everybody's working 10-minute drives from there, they feel fine at the office, and maybe it's fine for them, but I say after a while you will have to see also with new employee, are they going to look at it in the same way, because this will be part of employer attractivity.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
people are always able to vote with their feet, as I say. So if they don't like it the way it is at your company, they just go away.
Yeah.
And then it's the war for talent to attract new ones.
Yeah, that's why it's going to be a very challenging but interesting months to come. Absolutely.
Yes, also because I've seen the statistics. In 2020, there was a very, very low rate of people with contract with undetermined, comment on dit? Contrat à durée indéterminée. So it's like a no fixed term contract. It has never been so low, the number of these employees that switch their jobs, or there has been very few switch. But when you ask people about their intention to switch job, it's very high. So you have employee who feel like imprisoned, I think, in their organization so far. So maybe probably not very motivated anymore, or don't really align anymore with their company. And when they switch, yes, the company will need to attract new talents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. If there are no questions anymore, anyways, if you have questions afterwards that you think about and that you would like to ask, you can send them to Muriel at office@belfap.be or to Isabel directly, because you will get the PDF of the presentation. So you can contact Isabel directly. So I thought it was a really nice presentation, very interactive also. I would like to thank Isabel for the time that she took. I would like to thank the participants for the time that you took to be present with us. I do need to admit half of the people were a no-show. So we had more than 65 inscriptions, and at a certain moment we were at 42. We do have some new and future activities, which you will see here on the screen, which I really hope that we can see each other in some live activities that Belfa will organize, like the Facility Awards, which was normally in May 2020. We have some great trainings. Please look at our calendar, and there are quite some more activities in the pipe. So with this, I would like to end this afternoon. I would all like to thank you once again, and I wish you a very, very nice afternoon and evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Isabelle.